beloveds. This is Cynthia, and I'm back here again. I'm having a kind of a rough morning, so I'm going to be honest and vulnerable with you. Um, kind of living life, right? That's what it is. You have your highs, you have your lows.
Yeah.
Um, and today has been a struggle for me. But I have Valencia and Kim here today too. But we're still God's so good, and He's
Amen.
just amazing. I'm still working through my book and kind of talking about natural laws and spiritual laws and kind of writing about that, things that God's shown me about, reaping and sowing and all that. But the laws of gravity, and so that they're there, you can't do away with them.
Mm-mm.
They're there, and you can't not be under that law. It is what it is, and it's a truth.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been kind of, as I'm writing through and all the things that He showed me over the years about, the law of the seed, which is what you take into your heart. And sometimes we can't hear truth because our heart is not fertile ground. It's not good soil yet, because we've got a lot of walls built up, or a lot of traumas or hurt, or whatever. And so as He showed me that, it's like, um, I was talking, probably the last time was about His light and the flickering light. And when I used to try to commit suicide, one of the times I had an encounter and I saw a light, and then the voice said to go back, that it wasn't my time. But it's like I saw that light, and I kind of felt like I was fluttering around, so I kind of associated kind of put myself as a butterfly, kind of visualize myself that way. And so as I'm going more towards this light over the years and things that He's showing me, that as I seek His truth and getting His word in my heart, and allowing His word, that He doesn't, that He's kind of taken those places and shining light in dark places in our soul. And I love Luke 1:79, 1 verse 79, which says, to shine on those living in darkness and in the shadow of death, to guide our feet into the path of peace. And that's something that's been really speaking to me a lot about, is when we're in Him, we're in a place of peace. When we live for Him, and when we live in His presence, our feet are planted upon Him, it's peace. He leads and guides us with peace. And when we don't have peace, it's because we're not surrendered to Him. And so in any area of my life, I can look at it and say, oh, I don't have peace here or peace there. A lot of it has to do with some family or, different things, and where we want to still try to control whatever. And He's not calling us to that. It's learning to trust Him in all of our journeys of life, right? So it's like He's going to lead us through peace. But anyway, because so it's kind of a growing and just kind of re-looking at things in my life again, always learning from Him, always growing, staying humble, and letting Him into that place. So, but you had something you wanted to share, Valencia, too.
Yeah. So, of course, we're in a group together, and we've been working through a book, and we're doing a collage that was just kind of like self-care, like what nourishes us. And so I was working on that, and I had trimmed out some pieces of magazines like a while ago, because I was doing something with my kids, a project, and I had put them in a Ziploc bag. And I had found some of these things when I was looking through my magazines again, and I found the words open and invitation. So open was really big, and invitation was like sort of more scripty looking. And when I cut it out, I was just trying to fit it into the space that I had. But when I cut it out, the little dot on the eyes, they were like peaks. And it was like, when I cut it out, I was like, oh, it's like a valley, or like a mountain range. And I felt like I heard in my spirit, there's always an open invitation to God, but it's an invitation of peaks and valleys. When we are in the valley, it's the valley of indecision, when we have not decided fully that we will walk with Him.
Wow.
And so we think a lot of times
so good.
as that, you know, the things that happen in life that are hard as if they're happening to us. And I do think that there, you know, are spiritual forces that do come against you, but usually there's a reason why there's a door, right? So there's a door there for a reason. And I feel like that kind of connects with what you were saying. It's like, how fertile is our ground? How surrendered are we in certain spaces? And that kind of connects for me with what I feel like God showed me. And this was like maybe just last week. And I felt like, oh man, yeah. We don't love the idea that he is inviting us to a place of peaks and valleys.
Right.
Because we think, well, why would he want us to have a valley experience? But it's like, well, he doesn't.
We want a smooth path.
Right. Well, yeah, absolutely. We want a smooth path. We don't want to have the hard climbs even to the top probably. And we don't want like a running or falling descent. But it's like, oh, the reason why there are valleys are because of us.
Yeah.
You know, we create our valleys, our lack of commitment or our lack of willingness to let go of things in our life. Our surrender is the problem. That's where it creates a valley, which, by the way, I hate knowing that he told me this. I'm like, man, now I know. I can't pretend to not know this.
What are you
now.
trying to show me in this season, right? In this time, or where I'm kind of struggling and and the battles and especially, you know, I think the battlefield of the mind, right? That what we listen to, what we are engaging in, what voices we're agreeing with,
and even what we're saying to ourselves over and over.
Yeah. And what we speak out loud.
Yeah.
To ourselves and to others, right? And it's like it's kind of amazing. Like, and the Lord saying, I want to show you a new way. I want to show you a different way. And you know,
I keep thinking back to the little book, Hind's Feet on High Places.
I love that book. I love it.
And how Much Afraid lets the Lord plant something in her heart, but she's already had other things planted there.
Right.
And for the soil to be nourishing for what the Lord put in, it also is nourishing sometimes for those other things. And we can't control that they're going to grow. I remember hearing my husband would say things like, well, go take care of that. Go take care of that. If I had to deal with something with somebody else. And I would say, can't deal with it until it blooms. So all of those seeds in our heart, we can't deal with the things that we planted until they've actually come to fruit. So we know it's not the seed that the Lord planted. It's the ugly junk.
Because you can see the fruit of it.
We can pull it out, or we can ask the Lord to pull it out. So, and with Much Afraid, the Lord knows. He knows all that stuff's growing. He knows. He's still confident that the love seed he planted is going to continue to grow. And our job is just to be content with him and let that happen.
Right.
And not worry about, oh, I got that ugly fruit again, but that's okay. The Lord's going to take care of it as long as we trust him to grab a hold and pull it out by the roots.
Yeah.
And it's in his timing, and we can trust his timing. And we don't understand it all, but we can see that it's all part of our journey, you know, and just staying humble before him to say, yeah, I can see this is manifesting. What's this all about? And what do you want to change in me?
Right.
The way that he created me. It's not changing me to something that I wasn't created to be or for. All the dark places are what the enemy has planted in our hearts to harm us. And it's not who we are. And so as we bring it, you know, to the light, as the Lord brings it to the light more and more, you know, we can rest in him and say, it's time to let go of that.
Because he's a good
Because sometimes it served us well.
Yeah.
Like back, because we weren't ready for the truth yet.
Right.
You know, part of that.
It helped us cope for whatever time period.
Yeah.
it's interesting when you talk about it being dark stuff and our thoughts, and
Mhm.
Dr. Carolyn Leaf talks about that
Yes.
quite a bit. Like, and
Mhm.
she's shown like scans of people's brains and stuff, and the way that like what it looks like as far as neural pathways when we're in those thought processes, and
Yeah.
how dark it looks, and it looks sinister. It's the wildest thing,
Mhm.
But it really does impact even our biology, down to our biology. And when we think about how much is happening with our flesh and how much is happening spiritually around all of this and the afflictions that we deal with, just ailments
Yeah.
and brokenness in the world. And so this thought that there's so much about it being about surrender, because I feel like that's hard because it feels vulnerable,
Mhm.
right? And it doesn't, until you're really truly feeling safe in the Lord, like you're not comfortable with that vulnerability. I feel like even though I am in a lot of areas of my life, there are still places that I inadvertently hold back, and you don't always realize it. So when you're talking about peace being a fruit, it's like, oh, well, I can think of a few places that I'm lacking in that. Then, so I probably need to be thinking about, okay, what are the things I need to lay down in that area? What am I holding on to that's creating a lack of peace? And not being fearful that, somehow your daisies are going to get ripped out with the weeds. That God can be trusted with that too.
And he's very, he's so gentle and kind that he gets even places where we're not trusting him yet, and I bring back to the time when he told me, I want my truth to outweigh your experiences. And so that's what he was working in my heart. And so I pray and reach out, speak out to those who are listening too, that, sitting with the Lord to show him, to unveil the things in you that are keeping him from bringing that light, more light to your, in your life where you don't have peace, where he can bring you peace and, the joy, and just restoring you back to your creator and knowing how he made you, which is fearfully and wonderfully. So it's, anyway, we're gonna, get there. He's bringing us to that. And I think more light is coming, and maybe that little flicker will become a bigger flame and keep growing and growing until it consumes us. And it's glory. It's just glorious. So thanks for listening.